Hey guys, this is JD Seraphine of Rainmaker, the innovation hub where Web3 and AI technology merges to transform how we interact with the digital world. You're tuned into the edge of NFT, our compass in the ever evolving world of Web3 and AI. Keep listening.
Hello, AI podcast passengers. On this very special episode from our sister podcast, Edge of NFT, we dive into a conversation with a distinguished guest from the entertainment industry, boasting over 16 years of experience. Let's embark on an exhilarating journey into the intersection of AI, Web3, and digital value creation. Stay tuned and learn what's to come on today's journey. Why our guest utilizes decentralized physical infrastructure network, or DePIN, to provide anyone the ability to create a node by using both AI and blockchain. What critical components should be included in global AI regulations to ensure both innovation and user privacy are maintained. Finally, how a $25,000 donation helped to change several lives in Africa. All this and more, take your seat.
Welcome aboard the Edge of AI podcast. Snap into your safety belt and prepare to explore the depths of the rapidly expanding AI universe. Each episode is a dispatch featuring hyper-relevant reports from the pilots, pioneers, and passengers aboard the AI rocket ship. We explore the latest use cases and developments in AI, hear from experts building tech, and learn how this disruptive force is transforming industries and society.
Welcome to the Edge of NFT, the podcast created by Jeff Kelly, Ethan Jenny, and Josh Krieger, featuring a variety of top-notch guests and other hosts like myself, Richard Carthon. It's another production of the Edge of Company, a quickly growing media ecosystem empowering the pioneers of Web3 tech and culture and responsible for other groundbreaking endeavors like the Outer Edge LA Innovation Festival. Today's sponsored episode features JD Seraphine, who is an entertainment industry veteran with over 16 years of experience and the founder of Vision Tree and Rainmaker. Known for pioneering crowdfunding and influencer marketing through his collaborations with top brands and celebrities such as Star Wars, Disney, Marvel, Leonardo DiCaprio, and more. Those who join us at the Curiosity Circus at NFT LA Community Week would be familiar with Rainmaker, but for those who don't know, Rainmaker is a pioneering Web3 technology company that focuses on democratizing data creation and collection through AI, Web3 technologies, and decentralized physical infrastructure networks, DePIN for short. With offerings like Coin Network Protocol, Rainmaker mobile app, and FanQuest, it aims for mass adoption in sports, gaming, and entertainment. And also, full disclosure, I'm a personal investor in Rainmaker. Let's get into the convo. How you doing today, JD?
I'm good, Richard. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing great, man. At the time of this recording, there has been a solar eclipse, and I'm in Austin, and I got to go see that, which was super cool. Although it was gray and I think about to start raining, we got to see it, so I'm pretty pumped that I got to experience that.
That's beautiful. Yeah, we just had a partial here in LA, but as I said to you pre-call, at least the world didn't end. So we're all still here. We're still chugging. The earth still turns. So
Earth's turning. The Wi-Fi didn't turn off, and it's not an apocalypse. So it's a good day. But even better now, yeah, and even so more that we get to learn about everything going on with you and Rainmaker. And you have a very interesting journey. You started in the entertainment industry, and you somehow find your way into Web3. And when we first started talking, I was very interested in that background and in the story of how you kind of went from entertainment into Web3. Can you kind of tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so spent most of my career in the entertainment industry, financing independent projects, working as a creative producer, wearing a lot of different hats. About 7 years ago now, my partner and I, we own a media company called Vision Tree, which is still very active and in producing and financing feature film, scripted television, and unscripted content as well. We did a doc series called Open Source Money. It was actually the first doc series 100% funded with crypto that premiered on cable television. And that happened in the US July of 2020, so right during the pandemic. And it ties into kind of Rainmaker's origin story. So I'll actually flip back to that. But what brought me into the space is, our biggest project is a project called Atari, which essentially we have the rights to do Nolan Bushnell's official biopic. So Nolan Bushnell was the founder of Atari and one of the godfathers of the whole digital technology revolution. So he had Steve Jobs and Wozniak working at him at the Atari factory. They got the first parts for the first Apple computers from Atari. Really just Nolan's an amazing pioneer. He kind of represents to me the archetype of the renegade entrepreneur, which a lot of us now in this space, I feel like are all expressing that in our own ways as humans. But that's a project that actually brought me into this space. We acquired it from Paramount in 2016. And I was looking for an innovative way, like we've done in other phases of our, career, of taking technology and new tools to engage the 3 billion gamers around the world with that project. And so right around that time was the ICO boom, things taking off. I had some exposure to Bitcoin early days and being in LA in the West Side around people like Brock Pierce and some of the early crypto OGs. I was lucky to at least kind of have some tangential connection to that world, but really hadn't immersed myself fully until 2016 going into 2017. We started exploring how can we utilize this technology to build a system that would transform the way that those fans or that community would engage with the project. And from that exploration, Rainmaker was born. We started out first building a social creator platform focused on how could we quantify the value of each user's contribution on social media with the organic word of mouth marketing. So taking the stuff that people are passionate about, you're passionate about Star Wars, you're passionate about the Dallas Cowboys or whatever that thing is you're passionate about, you're constantly talking about it. And a lot of times on social media, you're creating all this value for those franchises. But as a fan, you're not really getting anything in return for that. And not that you're doing it with that expectation, but it's this vision, this idea that if you begin to get more value in return, it creates this flywheel effect where now you have a deeper incentive, a deeper relationship, a deeper connection to that thing that you're passionate about. So we built Rainmaker's first product, the mobile app that we launched first in beta in July of 2020. It was actually to help support the promotion of that documentary series I mentioned, Open Source Money. So that was fully funded with crypto. It was actually the story following my CTO specifically, who basically has been at war with the SEC since 2018. Like a lot of the industry, if you did an ICO and anytime after July of 2017, the SEC came and knocked on your door and said, hey, we want to have a conversation, which turned into, thousands or millions of dollars in legal bills. And a lot of times they just would go away or they'd settle, various outcomes. But we documented what Joe went through because, someone I was already working with Joe on multiple things. I was very passionate about like what they're doing with these entrepreneurs in America that are honestly like good, honest people that are just trying to innovate and build technology. And there's not clear guidelines or rules. And the SEC is using, regulations and guidance that was created in the 1930s to try to regulate, technology in the 21st century that's moving at, breakneck speed. It's just there's a big disconnect between what's happening there, and how they're trying to approach it, which I think has a lot more to do with power and politics and a lot of other things than it has to do with actually what's best for America or innovation in America. And so I was very passionate about that. And as a filmmaker who's done, produced and directed documentary stuff in the past, I saw it as an opportunity to step up and do my part and tell some story. And so we did that doc series. We put it on Discovery Science Channel in July of 2020. The Rainmaker app was used to help drive the performance of that doc series in the market. It did really well. It was like top 50 in the ratings through its whole run. The community that was passionate around that story getting out was really instrumental in like doing that additional, word of mouth, like earned media, on social that was really driving that extra bit of performance above what we should have achieved as just like an independently funded doc series. So flash forward, we like some stuff with the product. We're also like every, innovator, every technology company, we were like, what can we do to level it up? So we went back into development. July of 21, we launched a public version of Rainmaker app, again, focused on that social creator economy and how do we quantify through an algorithm we developed called proof of influence that individual contribution a user is making on social. Had some decent traction with the app. We actually launched it with an event called Global Field Day, where we had athletes, celebrities, influencers basically do a physical activation at the Denver Broncos Stadium. Where we had 50 kids from the Boys and Girls Club that got to show up to the stadium. They basically had like an amazing day. I don't want to say it was the best day in their life. It was like they had an amazing experience where they got brought to the stadium in limos. They had their names on the lockers. They had all these Broncos players and, former and current and it was just a really amazing experience. We chose to launch Rainmaker in that way because, as me personally and our company is committed to, impact. That's something that's part of the DNA of who I am and who the company is, and something that drives, everything we're doing. So we launched the creator, the public version of the platform in 21. Found some stuff we liked and some stuff we didn't. But that's kind of the journey of how I got from entertainment into the crazy crypto landscape. And I think the one thing I would add is when I came into this space, I immediately felt like this was my community more than entertainment ever did, weirdly enough. And I've been in that industry for a number of years. And I think part of it was the people that I was, naturally like attracting or connecting with or gravitating towards also seemed to share a commitment that there's a unique opportunity to make a huge difference in the world and empower humanity at this crucial moment. So I think coming into this space and meeting other like-minded people that shared that sentiment or that passion really made it like just super. To me, it was like a no-brainer. Like, this is where I'm supposed to be. This is where I'm supposed to be focusing and putting my time and energy.
For sure. And thanks for the background. And again, a very unique path to getting here, but also use cases of how do we take something we're doing in real life with something that we're doing virtually to drive adoption, to drive engagement, to also show like, hey, here's this concept and here's how we're directly showing that this can work simultaneously together, and then adapt and grow from there. So one of the things that makes Rainmaker unique is an emphasis on decentralized physical infrastructure network. So DeepIN for short. And it's also a term that like a lot of people in the space might not be as familiar with. So can you kind of explain this concept and how is it being applied to Rainmaker?
Yeah. So the kind of to finish the product journey or the company journey will actually tie perfectly into, how we got into essentially building our own network protocol, and then the actual nodes or the infrastructure that now is running that, running that network. And so about 2 years ago, I approached my CTO, who I mentioned earlier, who's former Disney. He built Disney's private blockchain in 2015. He went on to build Dragon Chain, which is another protocol that was, had its run in 2017 and 18. And he's an early pioneer. He patented a bunch of amazing innovations because he was here very early. So I went to Joe and said, look, there's a vision we have, my partner and I, for building a network that takes the architecture and looks at the individual user, puts them as the focus at the center of the architecture, and saying, what is the unique value that's being created connected to their decentralized digital identity / reputation, their behavior / data, and plugging that into what are now AI powered smart contracts. And so one of Joe's innovations that he's patented already and done that we've taken and rolled out with Rainmaker Network Protocol, but in a whole new way, is this idea that smart contracts can be coded in languages other than Solidity and Rust. So the ability to code smart contracts in other coding languages that developers have already been, writing code in for a number of years makes it much easier to scale, much easier to find developer talent to build on the network, as well as it's easier for us to integrate with legacy Web 2 infrastructure. So for these larger mass adoption use cases that we're focused on with Rainmaker Network Protocol, which is, again, sports, gaming, entertainment, the creator economy, these places where, tens of millions, hundreds of millions, billions of people are looking to, find those on-ramps into Web3 and into decentralized AI. How do we build products that allow them to do that without needing to be technically, without needing to be technical experts or have, that blockchain or crypto native capability? And I think that's been the friction point that's kept, more people from entering the space as we've gone through these last couple bull cycles. And now we're coming into one right now is, how do we build products that anybody can use, that grandma can use it, but it gives the ability for her to ride on infrastructure that is fully powered by all of the promise of what, blockchain and Web3 and decentralized AI can do. So we started building the Rainmaker Network Protocol about 2 years ago, again, focused on that unique architectural approach. One of the unique capabilities or features in the network is the validator layer. So there's basically it's a federated hybrid blockchain, and I don't want to go super deep on the technical, but one of the layers of the network, which is responsible for the finalization of consensus and for where those validators are running. It's basically, we built it so that anybody can run a validator node on the network, whether that's on a desktop, laptop, or mobile device. So currently there's 150,000 nodes that are running in testnet across, either mobile devices, smartphones, which is running through the Rainmaker application, or through the Rainmaker Network's desktop validator console or dashboard, which is currently coin.ai is the URL where that lives. Like users can go right now, they can go onto coin.ai, they can create an account. It's super easy. You can download the validator software. It runs on you can deploy it on your computer, register your public key. And it's actually like, it's about as intuitive and simple of a process as I've seen to set up and run a validator node on the network. So that's happening on the desktop side and laptop side. On the mobile side, the user logs into the Rainmaker mobile app and they sign up they sign up terms of use that they want to be a validator. It deploys that code on their smartphone device. So now, once this is running, imagine we have all these devices on the network that are essentially there where we can leverage all of those nodes, all of that decentralized physical infrastructure. So all of the GPU and edge computing capability of these devices are available to be provisioned, by applications running on the Rainmaker network. And so when people talk about decentralized physical infrastructure network, it's this idea that, the more robust versions of that are things like IONET and Render and things where like they're looking at heavier, a decentralized AI computation, the ability to do large scale rendering tasks across a distributed network of devices, which again, there's some of that we can do and we may play with, but I have my eye on a more lightweight side of the AI landscape in terms of how we're attacking this and where we see our unique place in it and what our network is really built to do well. But that's when you talk about DPIN, that's what's running in terms of Rainmaker network protocols, DPIN enabled network. The next version of the nodes right now that's going live in the next little bit of roadmap stuff in the next, call it 60 days, will have that full decentralized, parallelized AI computation that's running across the network. Right now in the test net, it's more of what you would think of a traditional blockchain, verification of data, finalization of transactions and consensus. And then another interesting feature of the network is users are actually the validators are not only signing blocks, but then the network is notarizing the proof of those blocks, a hash onto another public network. In this case, Bitcoin, Ethereum, BNB chain, and we just are adding Base right now as another network that we're leveraging. And so imagine with a hash on the Bitcoin network, what we're doing there is we're inheriting all the security of the Bitcoin network into Rainmaker's network protocol. So what it allows us to do is Rainmaker's network protocol and that decentralized physical infrastructure network and all the nodes running on it is able to be super fast, super scalable, very modular, very flexible, and still have the security and hash power of the Bitcoin network behind it. And so a simple example would be, Richard logs into the Rainmaker app. He generates some AI art. He trains an AI stable diffusion model in the app, which is one of the things that's happening in the app right now. And then all of those actions are being written on chain with your own cryptographic keys. And that's kind of the first layer of how that decentralized physical infrastructure network is securing the data of your actions, your behavior on chain with your own keys. Radically decentralized, very different than what most like EVM chains and other chains are doing, because we're focused on solving a very different problem at a very different scale. And then imagine that rolling all the way up through first those smart contract layer, which we call the enterprise application layer, and then finally validators notarizing it on Bitcoin. So what you have is an unbroken string of trust from Richard did this action that is immutable, that was signed with his own keys, all the way to the hash that has proof that these set of actions, not only Richard's, but thousands or millions of other users, was verified by smart contract computations that then basically passed it up to validators for final notarization. So that's kind of a high level on the network, how we see DPIN as it relates to us. And like I said, a little more of a lightweight version than some of the other decentralized AI projects out there, and a little bit on our protocol at the same time mixed in there for you.
Yeah, I think you were able to elaborate that, a very complex thing, very simply. Yes, people listening, that took some time to get there, but to like really get into the weeds of this could take anywhere from like 20 to 30 minutes to like really break all this down. So like, again, to like re-break this down, Rainmaker Network Protocol utilizes DPIN, which then allows people on their desktop, laptop, phones to be able to access it to set up a node. And then through all of the nodes that are running, you now are able to then prove that back onto a hash if you need to, whether that's on Bitcoin, etc. So you're getting both security and you're also validating and also getting other like data sets out there. And there's a lot of other use cases that we can get into. But with all of that running on, usually you have some sort of token to apply with it to help show some of the different utility. And so you're actually in the process of launching your native token, which is Coin, COIIN. So like, what role does that play within the Rainmaker ecosystem?
Yeah, I think one last thought on the validator side, and something that is important, which I kind of touched on, but I want to make it super clear for your audience, is we engineered this so anybody in the world could be a validator on our network. We didn't want it to be something that, obviously the people who stake the most coin, tying a little bit into your question you just asked, the people who stake the most coin are going to earn the most as validators, because the value they're providing to the network and to the ecosystem, they should be, rewarded more heavily for that. But we wanted it so that anybody on the planet with a smartphone could basically join this network and earn, some amount of crypto or some amount of coin that would help to improve their lives and bring them into this decentralized AI and Web3 global digital economy. So that's something that I want to make it super clear. Anybody can do this. You can download the Rainmaker app today. It's already live on iOS and Google Play. You can go to coin.ai and sign up and deploy a validator. It's super easy. In terms of the coin token, again, looking at what are some of those traditional utilities that a network infrastructure token has, whether it's to power the provisioning of smart contracts and the accessing of dedicated and custom AI models by enterprises that are building on the network, which is happening as we speak. The token itself to have utility inside of those applications. So Rainmaker being the application being the first, where users are able to take their coin, use it to purchase more credits, which allows them to actually continue to participate in this quest. Where like right now we just ended one yesterday where there was like $1,000 of Bitcoin. We just announced one today that has 25,000 Doge, where we're rewarding users for generating Elon Musk art and then using that to train a stable diffusion model and then tagging Elon on X or whatever. So trying to keep it like fun and light and cool, but there's actually 25,000 real Doge, in the app right now that users can generate art and train AI to mine their portion of. So to be able to participate in those quests, they're using credits that they can either pay for in US dollars on, your typical app store subscriptions, or they can actually use coin to top up those credits. So that's just a simple example of that in-app utility that we see on the application layer for enterprises building on the network. We do have a couple games in development. We have, an engagement platform called FanQuest, which we haven't publicly announced in detail, but there were some big announcements coming in for that in the coming weeks. So that, and again, that base level utility of rewarding validators, rewarding stakers, rewarding validators who burn. So there's actually a substantial multiplier that's added to a node that burns tokens on the network. So we're heavily incentivizing those validators to come in who want to compete for a greater portion of mining rewards, which are distributed every 29 and a half days, mapped to the lunar cycle, coming back to our eclipse opening here, that they can actually earn a greater percentage or a greater, portion of those mining rewards by burning, by staking, by, following all those normal utilities. And I think we see the hope is that the utility for the token, grows naturally over time as more enterprises build on the network and as more products are able to leverage, coin itself. And it's funny that people look at it and they're like, coin, like they kind of say it a little weird, and it may look a little weird to people, but one of the original units of value that humans used to exchange value was just a coin. Like if you go back in human history in the Roman times and, even earlier, like the coin is really one of those early, units of value that was used. And I think one of the primary things that blockchain has sought to revolutionize, from the early days is how is value created and how is value distributed. And so for me, like is someone who's had the luxury of talking to a lot of people smarter than me, as a documentary filmmaker, as an entrepreneur. That was the thing that always kind of has risen to the surface in terms of, what is the, people ask like, what is this really about? Like, is this all, this funny money bullshit, or like, is there anything that really backs Bitcoin? Like even stuff like that, to me, that for those of us that understand it, seems like insane that someone would ask, but it's about I always start by explaining to people, look, in a digital world, especially now with AI, I think people are really like, it's kind of opening their eyes more that like, okay, there has to be a currency system that's going to interface with, that's going to be there for AI to transact with or to utilize for its whole infrastructure. And then it's like, okay, well, it's a no-brainer. Like it has to be cryptocurrencies. There's not really another solution that can scale in the way that it needs to and still be secure, to power that AI digital economy, whether it's a decentralized version that's like me and other companies are working on, or something that's more centralized. Either way, I think cryptocurrency has a role to play there. So I think when we look at coin, what's funny is that when we created the original brand going back 6 years ago, it was originally coin was before we created the Rainmaker brand. Coin was the first brand identity we came up with. And it was that 2 eyes, which also is in Rainmaker, that represents the economic value of that peer-to-peer connection. That again is at the center of like, what is the value of our interactions? What is the value of when I train AI or when AI is being trained with my data, what is it worth? Or when I make a contribution to a system, what is the value of that contribution, and how do we measure that correctly? And then how do we create a fractional reward that's distributed in a scalable manner? And I think everything we build is with that, with that mindset. And so the coin token is meant to power that, in a global and frictionless way across the ecosystem.
I like that a lot. And it comes back home to being a true utility to everything that's going on within everything that you're building. And you brought up something that I want to spend a little bit more time on, is going back to the foundational value of like, what is value, and like, how is that being shared? And in a lot of ways right now, data is king. And so when you look at a lot of things in AI right now, it's large language models, and it's a bunch of how do we get all of this data and information, and then like how do we translate it into something useful that can make lives easier, or et cetera. And with that has come like the challenge of how do we make this either compliant and safe, but then how do we also not stifle innovation, and also pair this in a form that can move things forward. And so you kind of brought up how, there's synergies between what's happening with AI and blockchain, and then cryptocurrencies kind of tying those two together. But one of the challenges, again, that's happening right now, for example, ChatGPT faced a lot of challenges in Europe regarding GDPR violations. So how is Rainmaker going about ensuring compliance with international data and protection regulations?
Yeah, that was a lot there, buddy. I'm like, look, there's a lot of layers to what you said. And first off, we want to make sure that the AI doesn't become like Skynet and just blow us all up. I want to just put that out at the outset. But I'm a believer. Look, I think when it comes to AI now, and also crypto and Web3, I've organically developed this perspective that I believe that it has the potential to either empower humanity, which is what I'm working towards, and I think a lot of people are, or to enslave us. And I think that my hope is that we make the right steps forward, where this becomes a tool to empower humanity and actually bring upon almost like a new renaissance, like we haven't seen in many generations. And I think the potential is there for that. So everything we do is again coming back to that, making an impact, empowering humanity to create an evolutionary leap at this moment, so that we can realize our potential as a species, which is, I believe, how we create a better world. And I know that seems like I'm going to come back to like the GDPR, because like everything we built on the network side in terms of DDID, it takes that approach, which is we need to know that this user or this node is trusted, but we don't necessarily need to have that PII of who that user is exposed in any way to a nefarious actor or potential bad actor or third party. And I think that's a lot of the GDPR is like, not only like, hey, you can't just exploit people's data without either informing them or compensating them, and B, you can't expose their data from a security standpoint, their PII, in a way that obviously that they can be that they can be taken advantage of, or that they can be a victim, right? So I think what we've done in terms of the network itself is we have a DDID technology that we've developed with our CTO called MiFi, with 2 eyes, of course, that actually looks at that and says, okay, the user, like right now, if you're a node, if someone's say trying to participate in our testnet validator airdrop, which is also live on the website, just throwing the plug out, you can go in and actually sign up, create, go through the steps. And what you'll see is like, actually people who are willing to do KYC are actually rewarded more on our network. Why? Well, we want to know that you're a real, everybody's passing some base level. Like, we're checking to make sure you're not in North Korea or in Iran or a sanctioned country, because that's just the nature of the beast. We have to do that, even though I may not want to, be prejudiced against those humans that live there, because they're not the governments. We don't have a choice. Like, we have to be compliant. So all of the nodes in the network are doing that. But when it comes to passing the KYC, just to illustrate the GDPR part, there's actually, once a user passes KYC, which we're using, an institutional grade partner that's running that in the back end, the PII is not held by, Rainmaker or by its infrastructure. It's essentially destroyed. But what remains is a hash proof on chain that Richard passed KYC level 2 at this time and date. And that hash proof then can sit there on the network without any risk to the user. So the GDPR compliance is like beyond, even the measure of what they're asking for. We're going even steps further in terms of the identity data. Now, if we come to AI, it's a whole different animal, because right now AI is just being the machine, the monster, these LLMs and the things that are actually powering most of them, the most powerful products. They're just being fed with all of our data, right? That's the lifeblood it's running on. And I think for us, part of what we're focused on, in terms of our big UVP, both at the network level and on the Rainmaker application side, is how do we quantify the value of each user's contribution to training an AI model, whether that's through actual human feedback. So in the Rainmaker app right now, users are training stable diffusion models by generating art with those models, doing data labeling, and then providing that feedback back to the model. So over time, ideally, it's getting smarter in terms of being able to generate, more accurately what the user who's prompting it is attempting to generate. And so this
real
is
quick, I want to stay there just for a second, and because I want you to continue that thought, because this is something that's really cool about Rainmaker. So, and you're starting to elaborate on it, the AI generative art content creation, and you also have sprint quest play within the Rainmaker app. And so you kind of just spoke to it, but also like for people who are hearing this, it's like, oh, wow, that sounds really cool. Like, how do they participate and do that?
Yeah, I mean, essentially anybody in the world with a connected smartphone can go to iOS or Google Play, download the app, and start to play with it. We'll have a new version we're launching in the next, I think, like 1 to 2 weeks that I feel like really leveled up. So I'm excited for that to get in people's hands. But yeah, anybody can go either just train specific stable diffusion models. So there's 9 different models that we have live in the app right now that users can generate art with, and then they can also train those same models through data labeling. Now there's also specific quests. So I mentioned one earlier, which is the one we launched today or last night, where it's 25,000 Doge that are in a pool. And so users that are generating art and labeling that art and using it to train AI are essentially all competing for that pool of 25,000 Doge that's there now. And each week there's weekly quests that are launched to just gamify that Rainmaker community, helping to evolve and advance the AI models that are, part of the ecosystem. But I think what we're really looking at is the methodology for which we actually track each user's contribution to training AI. And where we're going big picture, the stuff that I'm most excited about on the enterprise application side with some of these other partnerships that we haven't announced that are coming with, partners that have millions of, fans and customers in their ecosystem, is how do we get more specific about because honestly, the quality of the AI model really comes back to the quality of the data that's training it. And if you're an enterprise, you have to know, okay, if I want a model that's trained with data from my community, from my fans, you have to know the quality of that is 100% sound, because every input of data that's of a lower quality, you're going to degrade the model, and you're going to degrade what the output of that model can be. And that could be, again, a whole variety of spectrum of things that the models can be trained to provide to a business. And so what is the value of each user's contribution to training AI is like a big question, right? And I think that question, and it's also kind of comes back to what you were saying around data, like, because data is the new oil, right? And that's something that's not a new thought. That's like a thought that's been, kind of widely known in the business world for the last handful of years. But most of us are just getting a bunch of free products to use, and our data is just being exploited by large centralized, corporations. And again, I'm not one of those people that's just like angry at them. It's like, look, they provide a product to use, you get a product to use, and you're giving the data up to use the product. Now, you may not consciously know that, and there might have been some obfuscation about, showing you that was happening. But I think we're going into a world, and that's part of coming back to what is the purpose of Web3. The idea of Web3 is that users become owners. Users become owners of data. They become owners of the value that they represent in the digital world. And coming back to coin and what we created, that brand identity, is like, what is our value in the world inherently? How do we build systems that understand that better and that can make sure that we're getting the proper distribution of value back to us? And I think that ties into, in some way, at least tangentially, your original question.
No, it does. I think it brings it all back together, which is, how do we make sure that the data that's being shared and made on Rainmaker is safe and secure, but also and compliant, but at the same time, the users who are helping to provide the data are also getting the use case back. And again, I think what Rainmaker does really well is to make this whole ecosystem work synergistically and reward people for participating and helping train these data sets. And I mean, for example, like the value, like just ChatGPT, for example, if you are trying to go do something to have the free version, it helps, like you do inputs and you get data out, but you're basically helping to train their model. So the value to you is you put in this thing, it gives you an answer. The value you get back is that answer, but you're not necessarily getting rewarded for helping to train the data. What's cool about what you guys are doing is that for every time that you're putting in those inputs and you're getting rewarded with whatever the outputs are, you're also getting rewarded for participating in helping to train these models. And on top of that, you also can go do cool things like create arts and eventually create other cool things and participate in games and do all these other cool activities that help drive value again synergistically all the way around. So again, I think you did a good job of wrapping that all together. And for people listening, they're like, okay, this sounds really cool. I know you got a lot of other really cool things coming out. Like, what does the rest of the roadmap kind of look like that you can share with everyone listening right now?
Yeah, and just to tie off on the AI generative art thing, it's funny because like I look at some of the art that the community creates and it's just amazing, man. Like, and that's the beauty of, like, to me, like I'm very hopeful about AI. I mean, it's not all roses, and I think this definitely like the landscape is the water's a bit muddy still about all this innovation and where it's going to land. But I generally am very optimistic that it has a potential to empower humanity in a way that we haven't seen in our lifetimes. And I think that we're always leaning into like, how do we bring that about? Because obviously we know that jobs are going to get taken away or that are going to be eliminated, but there are also jobs that people generally don't want. Like people, I think as humans, we yearn to express, our highest divine purpose or our highest divine spark that I believe we all carry inside of us. And I'm not like religious. I'm definitely more spiritual than religious, but to say that inside of us, I believe lies this untapped potential, this gift that we're here to give the world. And I think that AI actually has the potential to help create a world where more of us are able to bring that forth and express it. And I think, that's ultimately like big picture, the thing that I'm most passionate about, like, and what's driving everything we're doing is guided by that inspiration, by that purpose. And so, and coming back to roadmap, adding more AI models for users to train inside of the Rainmaker app. So again, to continue to iterate on, how do we quantify the value that each user is contributing to training AI, not just with Stable Diffusion and text to image generation, but other types of AI models, leveling up that DPIN validator network and its capabilities, not only for Rainmaker app, but I think, looking at the way that we're going to roll that architecture out with other enterprise partners. We've got some cool ideas that are a little unique there that we're excited to roll out in the next 2 quarters. The biggest thing that's coming, though, I'm kind of like dancing around the elephant in the room, is the token's going to launch here, in the next, call it like 30 to 60 days. I don't want to say a date because we might know it, but we haven't announced it. So I want to keep that till it's time to roll it out fully. But we just did our first IDO sales recently over the last week, 10 days on Tencent. It sold out in like 29 seconds. We've got other ones coming down the line with some big partners. So I think for folks looking to get access or exposure to the token, pre-launch, there'll be opportunities here in the next, call it like 2 to 4 weeks to jump into some other public sales. That'll roll right into mainnet. So mainnet of the network launch is coming here later this month, going out of testnet, which means that testnet validator airdrop is going to end. So I think the snapshot for that is inbound. So for people who are listening that haven't gotten into that want to get those testnet airdrop tokens, those are coming, that's coming to an end. There will be another bigger airdrop after we go mainnet, like down the road later this year. But I wanted to just put that out for your listeners as well. So we'll launch mainnet, and then that will roll naturally into the token generation event and the launch of Coin Token. So I mean, that's the big stuff that's right now. And then the enterprises that will be announced that are actually already building on the network, that will be launching products on the network, Q2, Q3, Q4. We've got a whole lineup of not necessarily a large quantity of partners, but really like focused on high quality, enterprises that like allow us to demonstrate what our network can do in terms of scalability and performance, while still enabling like a seamless Web2 like simple user experience.
So several exciting things. So everyone listening, I know you got a lot of really cool insights on what's going on, and obviously there's a lot more to come. And JD, I've been excited to learn more about everything that you've been building with Rainmaker and Coin and everything else. But now I'm excited to learn a little bit more about you. So that we're actually going to get into our next segment, Edge Quick Hitters. Edge Quick Hitters are a fun and quick way to get to know you a little better. There are 10 questions, and we're looking for a short or single or few word response. But feel free to expand if you get the urge. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's do it, man. So what is the first thing you remember purchasing in your life?
He-Man toy.
Nice. What is the first thing you remember selling in your life?
Actually, a lot of He-Man toys, but I don't remember selling. I remember giving them away to an underprivileged other kid like my age.
Yeah, I mean, obviously from the jump, just get all these cool things and be able to share with others. Being able to provide that value back has been ingrained with you for a long time. So that does not surprise me. What is the most recent thing you purchased?
Most recent thing I purchased. What was it? I think it was like a T-shirt. It wasn't anything exciting.
Nice. And what is the most recent thing you've sold?
I think the most recent thing I sold was this amazing sounding meme coin on base that I just totally got destroyed on.
Yeah, it is a meme time right now, so not surprised by that. But what would you consider your most prized possession?
What's interesting is I wear a necklace that my mom made for me. And so I think this is my most prized possession.
That's a good one. So of course, for everyone listening, if you come check us out over on YouTube, JD was kind enough to share the necklace and also sharing his swaggy hats. If you ever meet JD in person, you will always know that this man has some of the most swaggy hats you could ever see in your life. So this is one of many. So for the next question, if you could buy anything in the world, digital, physical, service, experience that is currently for sale, what would it be?
Yeah. So if I could buy anything in the world, I think a cool ranch or compound, maybe that for my family somewhere in the mountains would be cool. If I had to say one thing right now, I mean, there's lots of cool stuff you could buy. I think my focus is more on building stuff right now and creating.
Yeah, but that's not a bad one, man. Like a ranch, some land. Land is always going to be awesome, and escape and have some cool stuff. So I like that. If you could pass on one of your personality traits to the next generation, what would it be?
I think it would have to be tenacity, because I think that there's a certain amount of things that are coming, that there's a bill coming due that humanity is going to have to pay regardless of what we do. And I think the next generation is going to need that tenacity, that wherewithal to face those challenges, because sometimes it's going to feel hard, like people are going to want to give up. And I think we need that tenacity to keep fighting.
Yeah, agreed. Got to keep it, and things are going to get more challenging, even though we're getting tools that make things a little bit easier. But we got to keep finding ways to be resilient and tenacious and overcome them. So on the flip side of that, if you could eliminate one of your personality traits for the next generation, what would it be?
Part of being an entrepreneur, I think, is you have to be willing to endure a certain amount of suffering and stress that is almost almost like almost unimaginable. And so I think that it would be nice for people to not feel the need to maybe suffer any more than is necessary. Because I think for me, I've definitely been willing to sacrifice whatever to build what we built. And so I think hopefully for the next generation, they won't have that same problem.
Yeah, that's deep. That's a good one. Um, Before joining us on the show, what did you do right before?
I was in like a roadmap tech call right before with some of our tech partners and team. So kind of boring, and drinking a coffee, of course, to stay
Yes,
caffeinated and energized.
absolutely, for the long days. And what will you be doing right after the show?
Right after the show, going to meet with some team here, and then maybe a little later today, go get a workout in, get some strength training done. For me, working out is like how I keep a baseline in terms of my mental, physical, spiritual well-being. So got to get in the gym and chase my demons away.
I got you. Yeah, it's interesting. some people when they wake up in the morning, like they need their coffee and like they're like, all right, I can start my day, I can get things going. For me, it's all right, let me get this workout done real quick. Let me level set and like, all right, cool, I can go attack the day. So I feel you on that one.
Yep, exactly.
So we always like to wrap with a bonus question. And so for today's bonus question, you have been in the entertainment space for a very long time. What has been one of your most memorable moments in entertainment, or what has been one of the best experiences with meeting a quote unquote celebrity?
You know what's interesting is, and I'm going to take this a totally different direction. Um, After we launched Rainmaker, we did that event that I mentioned, Global Field Day, that we actually produced a TV special that aired on Fox Sports on opening day of the football season a few years ago. And we had like Josh Richards, who's a huge TikTok influencer, some NFL players that are notable. But the coolest part of all that was from the money that we helped to raise and put together, which also our company contributed for that impact initiative. We donated 25,000 to an organization called World Youth Horizons, which actually used it to build an orphanage in rural Uganda for like 25 or 30 African children that were basically sleeping in like huts and on the ground. So like to know that like we were able to actually make it that kind of a direct impact was probably one of the best feelings I've ever had, or at least had thus far in my life. Definitely cooler than any of the celebrities I've met or hung out with, and nothing against them. But for me, like there's nothing that touches that level of fulfillment when you feel like you've been able to touch someone else's life in that way. It's a special feeling.
No, undoubtedly, and that's really awesome, and especially helping to create that. So kudos to y'all for getting that done, and I know it's going to leave a lasting impression on a lot of young people's lives. So thanks for that. But as we wrap up here, man, like we always like to finalize with shout outs. So, there's a lot of people helping to make Rainmaker the beast that it is, and they don't necessarily get brought to the spotlight as much as they necessarily could. So right now, this is your moment to highlight some of those people, and to just give some praise out.
Well, I mean, first I got to give you flowers, bro. Ever since we connected, you're one of those. Sometimes you meet humans that just have a certain genuine affect or nature, and like you're one of those people that you're super genuine, and like I can feel like on a heart level that you're a good guy, and I say that and I mean that, like that's not I wouldn't give that out to everybody. And so first shout out is to you, man, and to you guys. We've loved collaborating with you. There's so many honestly partners that are playing a role, not just that have, but that are playing a role. And I've been just so blessed to be around a ton of people way smarter than me over the course of the last 6 years, as we've navigated this journey and done some things well and made a lot of the mistakes that, startups make along the way, which is how we learn and how we pivot and grow. But honestly, there's so many of them. I almost don't want to name anyone because I feel like I'd be like, just doing a disservice to everyone else. But the first one you always got to shout out is mom, right? If it wasn't for mom, I know I brought the necklace, and dad. Like, honestly, I was born with amazing parents. They've always been there for me. They've always believed in me, regardless of whether or not, the tides are in or out, things are good or bad. Mom and dad are always there to support. I have amazing children. I'm lucky to have 3 beautiful children that are intelligent and humans that will go well beyond me. And that's a beautiful thing. And so having like the right family and friends around me, first and foremost, has helped to keep me grounded and helped to keep me strong in the face of all the challenges that we've gone through, like as we go through bull markets and bear markets, and after building through our second crypto winter. It's really friends and family are the ones that at the foundational level keep us strong. But in terms of the industry, I mean, man, it's a wide list of partners, and it's a growing list. It's like I feel like we have an army behind us, and I'm super grateful.
Absolutely. Well, definitely appreciate it. It's been awesome getting to know you and just meeting and seeing all the amazing things that are going on. Yes, foundationally, you got to have a good team behind you, and it starts at home. So awesome that you have an awesome family, and yeah, it takes a village with partners and team and everybody else. So for all those out there, appreciate you joining us as always. For people who want to learn more, connect with you personally, JD, or learn more about everything going on with Rainmaker, how can they do that?
I mean, obvious stuff like websites, rainmaker.com with 2 eyes. I think we're at Rainmaker app on X. And there's also like Telegram and Discord communities if you want to get down in the weeds there. I'm on X as well. If people, I don't always respond to DMs right now as much because it's just a little crazy. But yeah, if you reach out, someone on the team can always surface something that's it's of high priority to me. But yeah, those are the best places to find us. And then the app, like it's in the App Store, people can go jump on it and start mining their coin now. So when we launch, they've already got a nice little bag. So yeah, thanks, man, for having me, and it's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate it. And everyone, we've reached the outer limit at the Edge of NFT for today. So thanks for exploring with us. We've got space for more adventures on the Starship. So invite your friends and recruit some cool strangers that will make this journey all so much better. So how? If you're listening, go to Spotify or iTunes right now, rate us, say something awesome. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, which we've now jumped over 120,000 subscribers and other followers by hitting that subscribe button and passing this episode on to a friend or two. Lastly, be sure to tune in to the next episode to get more Web3 content. Thanks again for sharing this time with us today.
The views and opinions expressed on Edge of AI reflect solely those views and opinions of the show hosts and its guests. Please make sure to do your own research. While we make every effort to ensure that the information about AI technology is accurate and up to date, we cannot guarantee its accuracy, completeness, or timeliness. We make no representations or warranties of any kind with respect to the information, products, or services discussed. Please be aware AI may occasionally generate incorrect or misleading information and produce offensive or biased content. Under no circumstances shall we be liable for any loss or damage, including without limitation, indirect or consequential loss or damage, or any loss or damage arising from loss of data or profits arising out of or in connection with the use of technology discussed on our podcast. Additionally, our show is not financial advice. You understand that you are using any and all information available on or through this podcast at your own risk. Whenever making financial decisions, we recommend doing your own research and talking to your accountant for financial advice. Lastly, time to time, we may feature sponsored content on the show for which we receive value, and we may share links for which we receive a commission if you make a purchase through one of these links. Refer to our website, edgeofai.xyz, for our full disclaimer, terms and conditions, privacy policy, and copyright notice.